Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the most successful people in the world spend just 5 minutes before bed doing something that completely changes their entire next day, while everyone else scrolls their phones and fills their minds with random thoughts? The top 1% practice an ancient technique that's been hidden in Shaolin temples for over 1500 years. Tonight, you're going to learn this powerful bedtime practice that transforms your sleep from wasted hours into a tool for success. This isn't about meditation apps or fancy routines. This is about rewiring your mind using wisdom that's been tested by warriors, monks, and now billionaires. By the end of this video, you'll have a simple technique that takes less time than brushing your teeth but can change everything about how you wake up tomorrow. The problem most people face before sleep. Let's be honest about what really happens when you go to bed. You lie there with your mind racing through everything that went wrong today, everything you need to do tomorrow, and all the worries bouncing around in your head like ping pong balls. Your phone is probably within arm's reach, pulling your attention to social media, news, or random videos that leave you more anxious than when you started. This chaos in your mind isn't just keeping you awake, it's programming your subconscious with stress, fear, and scattered thoughts. Your brain processes everything from the day during sleep, and if you feed it garbage right before bed, that's exactly what it will work with all night long. No wonder you wake up feeling tired, anxious, and unprepared for the day ahead. The ancient Charlie masters understood something that modern science is only now catching up to. The last thoughts you have before sleep become the foundation for your next day's mental one-person, health creative AI-powered meals and activity tracker track meals and activities with voice photos. AI analyzes your data, get personalized recommendations that actually work, try for free sponsored state. They discovered that these final moments of consciousness are like planting seeds in the most fertile soil of your mind. But instead of letting weeds grow wild, they developed a systematic approach to plant exactly what they wanted to harvest, the gateway between worlds. There's a special time each night that most people completely waste. It's that moment right before you fall asleep when your conscious mind starts to fade, but hasn't completely shut off yet. Scientists call this the hypnagogic state, but Shaolin practitioners have known about this gateway for centuries. This isn't just some mystical concept from ancient times. Modern neuroscience has proven that this transition period between wakefulness and sleep is one of the most powerful windows for mental programming that exists in human experience. During these precious few minutes, your brain waves shift from the active beta state into alpha and theta frequencies. Beta waves are what dominate your mind during normal waking consciousness when you're thinking, analyzing, and making decisions. But as you begin to relax and drift towards sleep, your brain naturally downshifts into alpha waves, which are associated with relaxed awareness and creative thinking. Then as you get even closer to sleep, theta waves take over, creating a state of deep relaxation where your mind becomes incredibly receptive to new information and suggestions. This is when your subconscious mind becomes most receptive to new programming. It's like having direct access to your mental operating system without all the usual filters and resistance from your logical mind. Think about it this way. During your normal waking hours, your conscious mind acts like a bouncer at an exclusive club, carefully screening every thought and idea that tries to enter. It questions everything, analyzes every piece of information, and often rejects new concepts that don't align with your existing beliefs and patterns. But during the hypnagogic state that bounces steps away from the door, your critical thinking faculties relax their guard and information can flow directly into your subconscious mind without being filtered, analyzed, or rejected. This is why hypnotherapists and trained practitioners have used this state for decades to help people overcome phobias, change limiting beliefs, and install new positive behaviors. The ancient masters discovered this principle through centuries of careful observation and experimentation. Long before we had brain scanning technology to prove what they already knew, the masters realized that whatever enters your awareness during this time gets processed differently than regular thought. It bypasses your critical thinking and goes straight into the deeper layers of your mind, where beliefs, habits, and automatic behaviors are formed. When you're in your normal waking state, you might tell yourself something positive like, "I am confident and capable." But your logical mind immediately responds with doubts and counter-arguments. It brings up all the times you felt insecure, you've made all the evidence that contradicts this positive statement. But when you're in the hypnagogic state, these same positive statements can slip past your mental defenses and plant themselves directly in your subconscious programming. They don't get analyzed or questioned. They simply become part of your internal operating system, influencing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors from that point forward. This is why what you do right before sleep is so incredibly powerful. You're not just wasting time lying in bed waiting for sleep to come. You're either consciously programming yourself for success or unconsciously allowing random, often negative thoughts to shape your future experiences. Most people let this golden opportunity slip away while they're worrying about tomorrow's meeting or replaying awkward conversations from 3 years ago. Your style. They fill this precious time with anxiety about bills they need to pay, relationships they're struggling with, or mistakes they made during the day without realizing it. They're programming their subconscious mind with stress, fear, and negativity right before sleep. Then they wonder why they wake up feeling anxious, why they have trouble sleeping, or why they feel unmotivated and pessimistic throughout the day. But when you understand how to use this gateway properly, you can literally reprogram yourself for success while you sleep. Instead of allowing random worries and fears to dominate your pre-sleep consciousness, you can deliberately choose what information gets planted in your subconscious mind. You can install new beliefs about what's possible for you, program new automatic responses to challenging situations, and create new patterns of thinking that support your goals and dreams. The key is recognizing when you're entering this state and then having a systematic approach for using it effectively. Most people miss the opportunity entirely because they're not paying attention to these subtle shifts in consciousness. They're either scrolling through their phone, watching television, or lost in random thoughts. But once you learn to recognize the feeling of your mind beginning to relax and drift, you can consciously direct this natural process to serve your highest good, the ancient practice of mental clearing. The first step in this bedtime technique involves something the Shaolin masters called mental clearing. This isn't about emptying your mind completely, which is actually impossible when you're still conscious and would defeat the purpose of this practice anyway. Instead, it's about systematically releasing the mental clutter that accumulated throughout your day so you can create clean space for the positive programming that comes next. Think of your mind like a computer that's been running all day with dozens of programs open in the background. Each worry, each unfinished task, each emotional reaction from the day is like having another browser tab consuming your mental resource. Your processor is working overtime trying to keep all these different programs running simultaneously, which slows down your entire system and makes it difficult to focus on any single task effectively. Before you can install new positive programming, you need to close these unnecessary processes and free up your mental resources. The clearing technique is surprisingly simple but incredibly effective when done properly. You start by acknowledging each worry or stress that's present in your mind. But instead of trying to solve it or push it away, you simply observe it without judgment. This might sound easy, but most people have never learned to observe their thoughts without immediately reacting. We're conditioned to either engage with every thought that arises or try to suppress the ones we don't like. But both of these approaches actually give more power to the thoughts we're trying to deal with. Instead, you develop what the masters call the witness consciousness. You become like a neutral observer watching clouds pass across the sky. You might notice or worry about an upcoming presentation and simply think something like, "I notice I'm worried about that presentation tomorrow." You don't try to solve the presentation problem right now, and you don't judge yourself for feeling worried. You just acknowledge that this concern exists in your mental space at this moment. Or you might become aware that you're still carrying anger or frustration from an interaction earlier in the day. Instead of replaying the situation over and over or trying to convince yourself that you shouldn't feel upset, you simply observe this emotional energy with curiosity and acceptance. You might think, I see that I'm still annoyed about what happened at lunch. That energy is present in my body right now. This acknowledgement without resistance allows these thoughts and emotions to naturally dissolve instead of fighting for your attention all night. It's like telling each worry or emotional charge, I see you and I understand that you feel important, but right now is not the time to deal with you. Your mind relaxes because it knows these concerns have been acknowledged and won't be forgotten. But they don't need to stay active in your awareness during this sacred time before sleep. This is completely different from suppression, where you try to pretend the thoughts don't exist, or from engagement, where you dive into trying to solve every problem that crosses your mind. The masters understood that resistance creates persistence. When you try to force worrying thoughts away, they just come back stronger. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more force it exerts trying to surface. But when you acknowledge these thoughts with calm acceptance, they lose their power over you and naturally fade into the background. They haven't disappeared permanently. They'll still be there tomorrow when it's appropriate to deal with them. But they no longer have the urgent, demanding quality that keeps your mind spinning in circles. This clearing process usually takes between 3 to 5 minutes. But the exact timing isn't important. What matters is that you systematically scan through your mental landscape and acknowledge whatever you find there without trying to change it or fix it. Some nights you might discover more mental clutter than others, especially after particularly stressful or eventful days. Other nights your mind might already feel relatively clear and calm. Both situations are perfectly normal, and the clearing process adapts to whatever you're working. As you practice this technique regularly, you'll start to notice that your mind naturally carries less stress and worry throughout the day. This happens because you're training your mental system to process and release concerns regularly instead of accumulating them indefinitely. It's like cleaning your house a little bit each day instead of letting mess pile up for months before dealing with it. The daily maintenance makes everything much more manageable and creates a sense of spaciousness and calm that affects every area of your life. The power of intentional reflection. Once your mind is clear of the day's mental debris, you move into the second phase of the practice, intentional reflection. This is where you consciously review your day, but not in the way most people do. Instead of focusing on mistakes, problems, or what went wrong, you train your attention to find the lessons, growth opportunities, and positive elements from your experiences. Most people end their day by mentally beating themselves up about everything they did wrong or didn't accomplish, creating a negative feedback loop that programs their subconscious mind for more failure and disappointment. This isn't about being unrealistically positive or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing to end each day by programming your subconscious with empowering interpretations of your experience. Your brain is always looking for patterns and meaning in what happens to you, whether you're consciously directing this process or not. It's like having an internal storytelling machine that's constantly running in the background, creating narratives about what your experiences mean and what they say about you as a person. If you consistently feed it stories of victimhood, struggle, and failure right before sleep, that's the lens it will use to interpret future events. The human mind is incredibly sophisticated at finding evidence to support whatever story you tell it most consistently. If you go to bed each night focusing on how difficult your life is, how people don't treat you fairly, or how you never seem to catch a break, your brain will start automatically filtering your daily experiences to find more evidence that supports these negative narratives. You'll begin to notice every slight, every setback, every challenge as proof that life is working against you, while simultaneously overlooking opportunities, kindnesses, and positive developments that don't fit your established story. But when you deliberately look for lessons, growth, and opportunities in each day's experiences, you're training your mind to automatically seek these positive patterns in everything that happens. This single shift in perspective can completely change how you experience life, because you're literally rewiring your brain to look for solutions instead of problems. The same challenging situation that would normally leave you feeling defeated and victimized becomes a source of wisdom and strength when viewed through this lens of intentional growth. The reflection process involves going through your day chronologically and asking yourself specific questions for each significant event or interaction. Questions like, what did this teach me about myself or others? How did this experience help me grow stronger or wiser? What opportunity might be hidden in this challenge? These questions guide your mind toward empowering interpretations rather than victim stories. But the key is to really feel into these questions deeply rather than just answering them superficially. For example, if you had a difficult conversation with a coworker, instead of replaying all the ways they were wrong or unfair, you might ask yourself what this interaction revealed about effective communication, boundary setting, or emotional regulation. Maybe it showed you that you need to get better at expressing your needs clearly before frustration builds up. Maybe it revealed that this person is dealing with their own stress and their behavior isn't really about you at all. Maybe it highlighted the importance of choosing your battles more carefully or finding common ground before addressing differences. Each challenging experience becomes a teacher when approached with this mindset. A traffic jam becomes a lesson in patience and acceptance of things beyond your control. A mistake at work becomes insight into better preparation or attention to detail. A disagreement with your partner becomes understanding about different communication styles or unmet needs. Even serious setbacks like illness, job loss, or relationship problems can be sources of profound wisdom about resilience, priorities, and what truly matters in life. The masters understood that this reflection process does more than just help you feel better about your day. It's actually reprogramming your entire approach to life. When you consistently look for the growth and opportunity in every experience, you begin to develop what they call the student's mind, a perspective that sees every moment as a chance to learn and evolve. People with this mindset don't get stuck in victim mode when things go wrong. They don't waste energy complaining or blaming others. Instead, they automatically ask themselves what they can learn from the situation and how they can use it to become stronger and wiser. This shift in perspective also changes how you show up in future situations because your brain is now trained to look for possibilities rather than problems. When faced with a new challenge, instead of immediately thinking about everything that could go wrong, you find yourself naturally curious about what you might discover or how you might grow through the experience. This makes you more resilient, more adaptable, and more attractive to other people because you radiate the energy of someone who sees life as an adventure rather than a burden programming tomorrow's success. The third phase of this bedtime practice is perhaps the most powerful because it involves consciously programming your mind for tomorrow's success. While your conscious defenses are down and your subconscious is most receptive, you plant specific seeds for how you want to show up the next day. This is where the ancient wisdom of the masters intersects perfectly with modern understanding of neuroplasticity and visualization techniques used by elite athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and peak performers in every field. This isn't about wishful thinking or unrealistic fantasies. It's about creating clear, specific mental blueprints for your ideal responses to tomorrow's challenges and opportunities. You visualize yourself handling difficult situations with calm confidence, approaching your work with focused energy, and interacting with others from a place of strength and wisdom. The difference between this practice and mere daydreaming is the specificity and the timing. You're not just imagining vague positive outcomes, you're creating detailed mental maps of exactly how you want to think, feel, and behave in specific situations that you are likely to encounter. The key is to make these visualizations as detailed and sensory-rich as possible. You don't just think about being confident, you feel the sensation of confidence in your body. Hear the tone of voice you use and see yourself moving through your day with purpose and clarity. You imagine the feeling of your feet on the ground, the straightness of your spine, the calmness in your breathing, and the clarity in your thinking. You hear yourself speaking with conviction and kindness. You see others responding positively to your energy and presence. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. So these mental rehearsals actually strengthen the neural pathways for these positive behaviors. This is the same principle that Olympic athletes use when they mentally rehearse their performances. Brain scans show that imagining an action activates the same neural networks as actually performing the action, which means your visualization practice is literally building the brain circuitry for success. Many people make the mistake of only visualizing big dramatic successes like getting promoted or winning awards. But the real power comes from programming yourself for small consistent improvements in how you handle everyday situations. Visualizing yourself staying calm in traffic, speaking up confidently in meetings, or maintaining your workout routine might seem mundane. But these small programs compound into massive life changes over time. Think about programming yourself for how you want to handle that morning commute. Instead of starting your day stressed and reactive, you visualize yourself feeling relaxed and centered, using any delays as opportunities for deep breathing or gratitude practice. You see yourself arriving at work feeling peaceful and energized rather than frazzled and overwhelmed. This might seem like a small thing, but how you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Or consider programming yourself for how you want to respond when someone criticizes your work or challenges your ideas. Instead of getting defensive or shutting down, you visualize yourself staying open and curious, asking questions to understand their perspective better and finding the valuable feedback hidden in their words. You see yourself responding from wisdom rather than ego, turning potential conflicts into opportunities for learning and collaboration. The visualization process works best when you focus on process rather than just outcome. Instead of only imagining yourself getting the promotion, you visualize yourself doing the daily work that leads to promotion-worthy performance. You see yourself arriving early, staying focused during meetings, taking initiative on projects, and building positive relationships with colleagues. You program yourself for the behaviors that create success rather than just hoping for successful results. You can also use this time to prepare for specific challenges you know you'll face tomorrow. If you have a difficult conversation coming up, you rehearse yourself staying calm, speaking clearly, and finding constructive solutions. If you have a presentation to give, you visualize yourself feeling confident, connecting with your audience, and delivering your message with impact. If you're trying to establish a new habit, you see yourself following through with your commitment even when you don't feel like it. The masters discovered that this pre-programming dramatically reduces the mental effort required to make positive choices the next day. When you've already rehearsed the right response in your mind, it becomes much easier to access that response when the actual situation arises. It's like having a mental shortcut to your best self that bypasses all the usual hesitation and doubt that can derail good intentions. The gratitude gateway. After programming tomorrow's success, you open what the masters called the gratitude gateway. This isn't the surface level gratitude most people practice where they quickly list a few good things that happened. This is a deeper, more transformative practice that actually rewires your brain's default emotional state. Most people approach gratitude like they're checking items off a grocery list, mechanically thinking about their job, their health, or their family without really feeling the emotional connection to these blessings. But this shallow approach barely scratches the surface of gratitude's true power. True gratitude, as understood by ancient wisdom traditions, is a powerful frequency that aligns your entire being with abundance and possibility. When you end each day by genuinely feeling grateful for specific experiences, people, and opportunities, you're training your nervous system to operate from a state of appreciation rather than scarcity or fear. The masters understood that gratitude isn't just a nice feeling or moral virtue. It's actually a technology for transforming your entire relationship with reality. Think about how most people move through their day. They're constantly focused on what's missing, what's wrong, or what needs to be fixed. Their attention is automatically drawn to problems, complaints, and dissatisfactions. This creates a chronic state of low-level stress where you're always scanning for threats and deficiencies. Your nervous system stays activated in survival mode, pumping out stress hormones that keep you tense, anxious, and reactive. Over time, this becomes your default state, and you literally forget how to experience contentment and peace. The practice involves choosing 3 specific things from your day and really diving deep into why you're grateful for. Instead of thinking, I'm grateful for my family, you might focus on a specific moment when your partner made you laugh, or how your child's curiosity reminded you to see the world with fresh eyes. The more specific and emotionally connected your gratitude, the more powerful its effect on your subconscious programming. You want to relive these moments with full sensory detail. Feeling the warmth in your chest, seeing the smile on your loved one's face, hearing the sound of laughter filling your home. Maybe you focus on the barista who made your coffee this morning and seemed genuinely happy to serve you. Instead of just thinking, I'm grateful for good service, you recall the warmth in their eyes, the care they took in preparing your drink, and how their positive energy shifted your entire morning mood. You feel appreciation for all the people who contributed to that simple moment. The farmers who grew the coffee beans, the truckers who transported them, the engineers who designed the coffee machine, the countless individuals whose work made your morning coffee possible. Or perhaps you reflect on a challenge you faced during the day and find genuine gratitude for how it forced you to grow. A difficult client who pushed you to communicate more clearly, a technical problem that taught you something new, or even a moment of failure that revealed areas where you can improve. This isn't about forcing fake positivity onto negative experiences, but about genuinely appreciating how challenges contribute to your development and strength. This deep gratitude practice does something remarkable to your brain chemistry. It increases the production of dopamine and serotonin while reducing cortisol levels, creating the optimal hormonal environment for restorative sleep and positive. You're literally bathing your brain in the neurochemicals associated with happiness, satisfaction, and well-being right before sleep. But more than just feeling good in the moment, you're training your brain to automatically notice and appreciate positive elements in your daily experience. The masters discovered that consistent gratitude practice creates what they call the appreciative eye, a way of seeing that naturally focuses on abundance rather than lack. People who develop this skill find that their entire world seems to transform not because their external circumstances necessarily change, but because they're noticing different aspects of the same reality. They start seeing kindness where they used to see indifference, opportunities where they used to see obstacles, and beauty where they used to see ordinariness. This shift in perception has profound practical benefits beyond just feeling better. When you approach life from a foundation of appreciation, people respond to you differently because you radiate contentment and positivity rather than neediness and dissatisfaction. You make better decisions because you're not operating from a place of desperation or scarcity. You attract more positive experiences because you're emotionally available to receive and recognize them. The gratitude gateway literally opens you to a reality where good things flow more easily because you've trained yourself to see and appreciate them. The wisdom integration technique. The masters developed a sophisticated technique for integrating the wisdom gained throughout the day into their deeper understanding. This practice involves taking the lessons, insights, and realizations from your daily experiences and connecting them to universal principles and deeper truths about life. Most people experience their days as a series of random disconnected events that happen to them. But this perspective keeps them stuck in a reactive mode where they never develop real wisdom or understanding about how life works. Instead of treating each day's experiences as isolated events, you learn to see the patterns and connections between what happens to you and the larger principles that govern human experience. Maybe a difficult conversation taught you about the importance of patience. A challenging project showed you the value of persistence. An unexpected opportunity revealed how preparation meets luck. But the integration technique goes much deeper than just identifying individual lessons. It's about weaving these insights together into a coherent understanding of how life operates and how you can work with these natural laws rather than against them. This integration process transforms random life events into a coherent curriculum for your personal growth and wisdom development. You begin to see that everything that happens to you, positive or negative, is actually contributing to your evolution as a human being when viewed through the right lens. The masters understood that life is constantly trying to teach you something. But most people miss these lessons because they're too caught up in judging experiences as good or bad, rather than looking for the deeper wisdom they contain. The technique involves asking yourself questions like, what universal principle did today's experiences teach me? How do today's lessons connect to what I learned yesterday or last week? What pattern am I seeing in my growth and development? These questions help your mind create meaningful connections between seemingly unrelated experiences, building a coherent framework of personal wisdom. But the key is to approach these questions with genuine curiosity rather than trying to force artificial connections or insights. For example, you might notice that several challenging situations this week all required you to practice setting clear boundaries with others. Last Monday, you had to tell a colleague that you couldn't take on additional work because your plate was already full. Wednesday, you needed to have a conversation with your teenager about curfew and consequences. Friday, you had to politely but firmly decline a social invitation that didn't align with your priorities. At first glance, these might seem like completely separate situations, but the wisdom integration technique helps you see the common thread. The universe is giving you multiple opportunities to practice the same essential life skill. This pattern recognition helps you understand that life often presents the same lesson in different forms until you truly master it. Once you get comfortable setting boundaries at work, you might find that boundary setting challenges show up in your family relationships. Once you master it there, you might need to practice setting boundaries with your own thoughts and habits. The integration technique helps you see that you're not just dealing with random problems, but actually progressing through a systematic curriculum designed to help you develop specific capacities and strengths. Over time, this practice develops what the masters call the philosopher's mind, the ability to extract wisdom from any experience and see the deeper patterns that govern human life. You start to understand universal principles like how resistance creates persistence, how your outer world reflects your inner state, how challenges are actually opportunities in disguise, and how everything in life is interconnected in ways that aren't immediately obvious. This wisdom integration also helps you develop patience and perspective during difficult periods. When you can see current challenges as part of your larger curriculum for growth, you are less likely to get stuck in victim mode or despair. You start to trust that even painful experiences serve a purpose in your development, which gives you the strength to navigate difficulties with more grace and resilience. The practice also creates continuity between your daily experiences and your long-term personal development. Instead of feeling like you're just going through the motions each day, you begin to see how each day's experiences contribute to your ongoing evolution as a conscious, wise human being. This gives profound meaning and purpose to even ordinary moments because you understand that everything is teaching you something valuable about yourself and about life. The energy circulation method is one of the most profound and transformative aspects of the bedtime practice taught by Shaolin masters. At its core, it is based on the understanding that energy in the human body is never stagnant. It flows, moves, and transforms constantly. Just because you stop moving physically when you lie down at night doesn't mean the internal currents of your energy stop with you. In fact, the period right before sleep offers a unique opportunity to guide and optimize these currents so they can work in harmony with your body's natural processes of healing, restoration, and renewal. The Shaolin masters, through centuries of observation, realized that when you go to bed with scattered thoughts, tense muscles, or erratic breathing, your energy follows that same chaotic pattern. It disperses in ways that prevent deep rest, causing you to wake up feeling heavy, restless, or even more tired than before. On the other hand, if you learn to consciously circulate your energy before sleep, you create a smooth, balanced flow that supports the nervous system, calms the mind, and prepares the body for profound. This is why they saw energy circulation as both an art and a science, because it requires awareness, intention, and practice. The technique itself often begins with deep rhythmic breathing to center your attention and bring your awareness into the present moment. As you breathe, you start to imagine, or rather feel your energy moving through specific channels in your body. These channels, often described in traditional Chinese medicine as meridians, are like rivers carrying life force throughout your entire system. When these rivers flow freely, the body relaxes, the mind quiets, and sleep comes naturally. But when there are blockages or imbalances, restlessness, tension, or even physical discomfort can arise. One common practice is to guide energy in a circular pattern through the body. For example, you might begin by sensing energy rising up the spine as you inhale, then letting it flow down the front of the body as you exhale, creating a continuous loop. With each cycle, the body grows heavier, the breath slower, the mind clearer. Over time, this practice trains the nervous system to shift smoothly from the alertness of the day into the deep stillness required for quality sleep. The beauty of this method is that it doesn't just improve sleep. As energy circulates more efficiently, the body's natural healing mechanisms activate, digestion improves, stress dissolves, and mental clarity sharpens the next day. It becomes more than a bedtime routine. It turns into a way of maintaining harmony between body, mind, and spirit. For the Shaolin masters, this wasn't merely about resting well at night. It was about living with greater vitality, balance, and inner strength every single day.